Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television. My guest today is Dr. Usman Bugaje, a former member of the House of Representatives, a candidate for the governorship election in Katsina State in the past. He was also the political advisor to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar when he was in office. And on his own right, he's a civil activist who's been at it for many decades. Malam Usman, welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. We are just on the cusp of another election cycle. Where are we now with...
I think the best thing about democracy is the fact that periodically it offers you choices. So if you make a mistake, you have a chance to amend. It's different from dictatorship, that rules without term, and therefore God knows what's going to happen. So two things that I think are important. In the last 24 years or so, if you like 23, in 24, that we have been practicing.
That's since this new republic.
Exactly, from 1999
commenced, yes.
to date. If you look at what has happened to the country, yes, there's democracy, yes, we had choices, but in actual fact, if you look at the indices for development, we've been going down the drain. Poverty has more than tripled. Insecurity has gone to proportions that was inconceivable. Joblessness, hopelessness, despair, everything that you look at, infrastructure, for example. We have not been able to increase our electricity substantially, even though we have spent God knows how many billions of dollars. As at, I think, 2015, we have spent over 16 billion US dollars without any increase. In other words, this country has not been improving.
Why is that so?
Now that's the point. That's the point. That's the point. I'm raising this because then we have to find out why. The second point that we need to also note is that in terms of if you look at the country itself, the institutions that keep every country, are also going down the drain. The police, the security, other security institutions.
Some are even going to the extent of saying Nigeria is almost a failed
Very
state.
good. So these are the things that we need to. And remember, the growth of population. Now we are battling with issues of poverty when we are just about 200 million plus. UN projection has put it that in the next maybe 7 years, 2030, we're expected to be 300 million. In 2050, we are going to be well over 400 million, and that will make us the third largest country after India and China. Now, all these issues that I have raised are pointing to the fact that we have got to revisit our democracy. We have got to revisit the way we do things. Otherwise, we are going to go into God knows what explosion. Because as the population is growing faster than the economy itself, it means we are going into deeper poverty.
So is it because we are electing or putting not the right leadership, or what is wrong with the...
Okay, we need to have a discussion around that. But very clearly, I can say 2 or 3 things. One, a lot of things that has happened in all the countries that have developed, especially those that have started from the very bottom, like Rwanda after genocide, like South Korea after the civil war in the 60s, like Singapore, that bolted out of Malaysia some 60, 70 years ago. But they are all now at the cutting edge of development in so many ways. What has made them to be what they are today is leadership. And one peculiar thing about our leadership recruitment mechanism is that it has no criteria whatsoever beyond the constitutional eligibility. The Constitution will only give you eligibility, but the more dynamic issue of suitability we don't have any criteria. Anybody with a secondary school certificate or equivalent can come and contest for any post in the country.
Nowhere, but it looks like it's more like maybe money that qualifies people for election. I mean, look
I'm coming to that.
Even the nomination forms.
And because there is no qualification, there are only two qualifications: money and connection. That's where godfatherism comes. People installing their own stooges to hold on to power so that they can get access to the resources that power allows them to. And therefore, we need to change our leadership recruitment mechanism.
And how do we do that?
We need to bring in, we need to prioritize knowledge. We need to prioritize character. We need to prioritize cognate experiences. Because in the 21st century, you know, governance is a corporate scientific business. It requires data to plan. You know, you need statistics. You need to do what is called the baseline data so that you can measure. And once you can't measure your progress, then you can't even know if you are progressing or not.
But I mean, the people in government will say that this is theory, that when they are in government, what they face is the practical day-to-day issues of the day, crisis here and problem there.
A lot of these people are very low education. And the motivation for office is no longer making impact or improving the quality. Look at them. A lot of them come into offices, and I've contested elections, as you rightly indicated, and I've contested with people. I had a policy document that says exactly what I intend to do in education, in agriculture, in healthcare, in human capital development, and all the things that put together, make a good and better society. I have this, and many of them really have no idea of what to do, but they have a lot of money.
But at the end of the day, those are the guys that got elected.
Because the leadership recruitment mechanism is money-based, it's not based on ideas. But without ideas, you can't make progress. And this is why this country is going down the drain. So we have got to find a way of making sure that we recalibrate our recruitment mechanism to prioritize knowledge, to prioritize character, to prioritize all the good things that can really make those differences.
So how do people of ideas like yourself now step in and make it possible to have this, should I say, paradigm shift away from just money, connection, godfathers, to the more
we have been trying, and the fact that we have tried and we may not succeed does not mean that we should not try again. We have to keep trying. If you look at the history of those countries that emerged out of the kind of condition or situation we are and really made a headway, they also suffered. If you look at if you read the books of Lincoln Yu, he had two major books,
former Singaporean
leader. Singaporean leader. You can see the struggle he went through. If you look at Mahathir in Malaysia, even after he has succeeded and retired, he was forced to come back at the age of 90 to take over the prime ministership. And then when he installed and restored, the system, after 2 years, he went back. He said, "Look, I'm not here to stay. I'm too old for that."
Again, it's showing that it's back to the right leadership.
Exactly. You have to, continue the struggle. At the moment, some of us think that the first thing is to create a platform that will bring in all those people with the passion, with the idea of creating, creating a government that can address the problems of this country. Now, you need knowledge, you need character, you need the cognate experiences. So we are putting together all those that have got these in one platform. And then we move to a party, certainly not the two big parties.
Neither the PDP nor the APC.
No, because
is it not too late in the day?
It's not. They are so entrenched in their ways that is very, very difficult. All the money bags, are there. And they just won't give you a chance. By the time we get one of the smaller parties to host this kind of leadership, then we'll be able to stretch out and mobilize people. In any case, we'll be giving Nigerians a real choice.
But you know, whenever there's an election cycle, we see these issues of mega party, third force, and whatever. And at the end of the day, it's still the dominant parties that.
At the end of the day, they fizzle out.
Yes.
Right. A lot of the people who talk about mega party, third force, if you notice, are people who do not have the experience of being in politics. We have never spoken about third force. We have never spoken about mega party, but we are working hard, and we are confident that at least we will give Nigerians a choice. And
in this very election cycle?
Yes, oh yes. We
How
are
will
appealing.
That be?
We are going to be hosted by one of the parties, and we are going to go out to campaign. We are going to talk to people. And we are already engaging young people, and there are millions of them that have finished school, and they cannot find jobs.
But the INEC nomination process for candidates for the election is just around the corner. I mean, it's almost
We are still going to work within INEC timetable. Because what INEC wants is by the first week of June, you would submit your candidates. And there are processes based on the constitution of the party. This will be done. But I want attention really to focus on the real thing. Because our own idea of politics is not just about holding positions. Like they say that politicians only think about the next election. It's statesmen that think about the next generation. We want to think about the next generation. We want to plan for the next generation. And we want to make sure that the conversation around our politics is the conversation about the future of this country, is the conversation about what the young people who constitute the majority, and we want to appeal to them. We want to appeal to the elite, that this country needs an elite consensus as to where we want our country to be in this very competitive environment of the 21st century.
But some say that the elites don't vote, and then the young people, they are in the social media, not in the real world.
Fair enough, this may well be true, but this can change, because we are all going to be out to appeal to them. And we want to remind the elite in particular, who think that because they are comfortable, they don't want to get to mess up in politics. And it will be a big mistake. It's not a smart thing to say that you have nothing to do with politics because politics is dirty. It is dirty precisely because you have not participated and you have left people who are really dirty to take over your politics. And this has been a human folly right from the Greek antiquity. And Plato, the famous Greek philosopher,
yes,
spoke very clearly about it. He said, if you don't want to go through the pains of being in politics, you must be prepared to suffer the pain of being ruled by someone who is far inferior. They sit in their homes and they watch these people, these characters in the National Assembly, talking a lot of rubbish, and they say, oh, what a country, what, yeah, that's what you get. Because you sit down there. But some will say
you are one of those people in the National Assembly at one time.
I was gladly.
Yes.
I was gladly. But then when I was there, we created a platform. We formed the Forum for Democracy and Good Governance, and we were engaging with our colleagues, and we were able to do a number of things.
Viewers, it is 30 minutes. The interactive program of Trust Television will resume shortly. Welcome back to 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television. My guest today is Dr. Usman Bugaje, a former member of the Nigerian House of Representatives, also former political advisor to Vice President Atiku Abubakar between 1999 and 2003, and an activist who's never been tired of struggling to improve the lot of Nigeria. Dr. Bugaje, you are talking about intellectual power and all of that, which you said made the difference when you were a member of the House of Representatives. And then now we have another round of election, which you have just been telling us the plans that you have. I wonder whether it is not to your view that activists like you and those who are in opposition tend to leave things too late before they regroup and try to make the point just before another round of elections?
It's the other way around. Activists like me want to plan better. Others jump into it without any planning because they believe it's all about money and connections. So they go around to see the big man, they try to get endorsement of the big man, and then they try to use the money they amass. But if you really want to go into politics, you need a lot of planning. You need a lot of thinking. I mean, to think through what is it that you are, and then to also see how do you confront this massive pedestrian block, that has taken over our politics. A lot of people who are not, thoroughly educated, who have no idea of governance beyond stealing the resources, of their state. So this is what they see in politics. And we interact with them all the time. They think, oh, you academics, what do you know about politics? We are the professors of politics. I can defeat you in your constituency. And what he means is that he will take a lot of money, buy votes, and bribe the police and the INEC officials, and then he will be declared winner.
But isn't that the real politic of Nigeria? That is,
that is a pedestrian politics. And that's a destructive politics. And that is the kind of politics that has brought this country to its knees. Now, you can see you can't travel to Kaduna, you can't travel to, look at the insecurity in the country, look at the poverty, look at the despair, of people. Look at the humiliation we go through, even as Nigerians, if you have opportunity to travel outside. The moment you put out the Nigerian passport, what comes is the violence, the crimes, and all the rest of it. Why do we have to go through this? We have our peers like Brazil, we have our peers like Malaysia. They have gone through what we went through, but yet they have been able to overcome it. And you can't overcome it with ignorance. You can't overcome it with money. You can't overcome it with lobbying, and you have to apply knowledge. And but that's what we want to do.
What happens after the election if you've supported, you've mobilized, you've gotten maybe the right leadership, and then they are there with all these enormous powers that they derive from the
first thing is that...
can you still manage to keep them on message?
You see, at the moment, the young people are angry. And you need this resentment to bring about transformation. Most countries that have gone through major transformations, have used the resentment. This politics that I started at this point, in the last 20 years, has actually destroyed this country. It did not build it up. And who is the one that really suffers more? Young people. Because if this country gets better, they are the ones to enjoy. If it fails, they are the ones to suffer. And therefore, they have to see themselves as the greater stakeholders in the project of Nigeria. And therefore, we're going to appeal to them. We are going to win them over. We are going to inform them that they have to come out and struggle. It's a struggle for life. They have to get themselves out of these kind of terrible politics, which is defined by money and violence, and ignorance, by the way.
But at the moment, they see themselves as powerless. Many of them even maybe don't have
I have told them, even today.
Card.
Today I spent 3 hours speaking to them on Zoom. And I've made it very clear to them that in the real world, nobody gives you what you deserve. You don't just sit down there, oh, I'm a young person, I deserve this. No, nobody gives you what you deserve. You only get what you negotiate for. And the currency for that negotiation is power. Now, it's for you to figure out what power can you use to negotiate a better position. You don't have political power, yes. You don't have economic power, yes. You don't have military power, yes. But you have intellectual power. You have got moral power. You have got
the
demographic
power of numbers.
Yeah, demographic number. In a democracy, demographic power, in fact, is the most potent power. And they can organize themselves. Young people can organize 10 million, 20 million on an electronic platform. They can put their voters card and they can have a block voting. How many votes do you require to become president in this country? In the last elections, it's basically 15 million, 17 million. It never got to 20 million. Nobody has won the presidency with 20 million votes. With
So this time around, you are hoping that you will channel that anger among the youth to action so that these millions will come out
and we are also
and
appealing
vote and
to the elite and to all these people who now know that you cannot be nonchalant, you cannot be complacent, you cannot be indifferent, you can't sit on the fence anymore. Because if you do, look at what is happening to your own country. It's going down the drain. So you can't allow these same politicians that have been part of this politics in the last 20 years, that have literally destroyed this country, to come back again. And they are telling you the same thing they told you some 8 years ago. And you are still there, believing what they are saying? How can you believe somebody who has been part of the destruction of this country, and then you still want to go? No, you have got an opportunity. And this opportunity is what we want to give. But you see, it's not just about the president of this country. You have got to make sure that you have got members of the State's House of Assembly. You don't have to be a majority, but put some of your most competent, some of the most credible people in that assembly. If you have a chance for a local government election, do the same. When you come to governors, make sure that you push for the best and let him have, or her, a team around, the gubernatorial candidate. The people can see that there is hope if these kind of people can really come together. The same thing with the presidency. This is something that is doable. In any case, anybody who said this is not doable, then let him tell me what is doable. How do we get out of this hole that we're fallen into?
You spoke earlier about demographics and the way Nigeria's population is ballooning. I mean, recently somebody in, I believe it's the Kannywood actress, was making the point about people not being, bringing forth children that they can't cater for. And I know you have a connection with the clerical establishment. Is it a conversation that is beginning to happen, or is still a taboo subject that nobody wants to touch?
It's a conversation that is happening, and I'm right now part of a program to have a national summit on these out-of-school children. And part of the subcommittees that we have created that have done a lot of work is a committee on parental responsibility, because that is missing. And we have asked the clerics to make sure that this is a theme that they should be repeating every Friday. The parents have a responsibility. And part of that responsibility is to make sure that you take what you can. So don't go out just marrying anyhow, producing children anyway, if you don't have an idea of how to cater for them. Of course, the state itself has its own part, of the responsibility. So you have to combine both the individual parental responsibility and also the state responsibility. The state is not taking its own responsibility seriously. Look at the schools. Even if you care to take your child to school, where is the school? Where are the classrooms? Look at the hospitals. So you have to do both. But this is a conversation that is taking place right now, and I'm quite happy from the report of the subcommittee, and it went around different parts of the country, and it engaged the clerics in these parts of the country, and they are part of, and they have made recommendations, and the idea is after the summit, we set up an implementation structure that will follow through for the next 25 years. But then every year that summit will take place to give you an update on the monitoring and evaluation that was done. So it's a very important conversation. But once you have a responsible government that really cares about its own citizens, they would normally fast track this process, and it's doable. There are countries that have done that in the past.
But why is the AlMuhajiriyya issue so intractable in Nigeria? I was recently seeing a newspaper report of the 1970s talking about the same problem, and it doesn't appear as if any progress has been made.
Well, we have not solved it. This is why it's still there. But we can solve it. And part of what we have done in this is, what is it new that we are doing? That has not been done before. We are asking every platform that discusses AlMuhajiriyya to come over, so there will be synergy. And we have taken every report that we can lay our hands on in the archives, online, offline, research in the universities. We have made a compendium of all the research that has been done on this. And this is part of the documentation. We are launching 4 books. And we're not launching them just for people to read. We are launching them to provide those materials, the resources, the intellectual resources that will actually guide whatever program we are proposing. So it's just that previously bits and pieces were done. There was no synergy, there was no proper research as to, and this time we're involved in the National Assembly, the executive arm of government, the traditional rulers, the clerics, you know, themselves, the scholars, so that everybody is on the table. This has not been done before. So we want to do something different, but at the end of the day, it's a responsible government or citizens that can push their government to do the right thing, because it's part of government's responsibility to take care of that. If you fail, that's why you have Boko Haram. Because you have left children who have not gone. That's why you have banditry. If you have seen some of the clips, most of them have not gone to school, whether the religious schools or the normal mainstream Western education schools. They have not gone to any particular training, and they are just left in the bush. And when they have no cows to tender or no jobs to do, what else do they know? Violence. And that's what they live on at the moment. And it is basically the creation of an irresponsible government. And so therefore we have got to...
How do you see a way out of it? I mean, this, especially since you touched it, this insecurity that is just exploding all over the country, but particularly in the north.
Conferences upon conferences in the last 4 years have been done, meetings upon meetings. We now know that this thing is not ending because the governments that we have are part of this problem.
In what way?
In ways that, 1, corruption, they take money which doesn't go. 2, there are government institutions, the security institutions that connive with the bandits or with the Boko Haram, and that has been established. A report of a former IG of police has done a lot to expose this. There are even members of the traditional institutions, members of the community, but you can isolate these because they are not the majority. And we can actually tackle this. Since he gave out that report, what was done? Nothing.
I think recently some traditional rulers in Zamfara were sacked from their post and have been tried in some court.
How many years from the time he submitted the report? And how many really has been done? I was in one of the state governments, and I was told reliably that there are 37 bandits right now in Government House as guests of the governor.
So you don't see a solution so long as the current set of government officials are in government houses?
Perhaps it's not fair to say so, because if they want to do this in the next 6 months, they can. But if they continue with the same kind of attitude, I can't see how we can get out of it. But you see, there are ways to get out of this. You can really get out of these problems in the next 6 months, the next 1 year. You can do that. Of course, you must realize that military might can only do as much. It can actually just push you to a negotiating table. But the real work has to be in the field of political economy. Because for as long as you do not address the issue of joblessness, among the people, you have not been able to supply electricity so that production can take place, prosperity can come, people can get jobs, you cannot solve these problems. Even if you solve them now, they will come back again. So it's a problem, but the solutions are well known. But there is no political will from the government.
So I think on that note, we should end this conversation. I think it's well over 30 minutes.
Thank you very much.
But thank you for honoring the invitation.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of 30 Minutes. Thank you.